There is a silent, undeniable weight that you have carried for as long as you can remember. Long before you even had the words to articulate it, an unspoken sense of separation made you realize that your presence in this world was never meant to be ordinary. While those around you moved comfortably through the surface of life, satisfied with temporary distractions and quick answers, your spirit was constantly searching for something deeper. You felt a persistent hunger for absolute truth that could not be satisfied by the illusions of the crowd. That feeling of not fully belonging to this loud, chaotic world was never a flaw in your design. It was a precise spiritual calibration, keeping your heart guarded from the toxic noise that so easily consumes human awareness. Out of billions of souls moving across the surface of this earth, your energy was crafted to vibrate at a far higher frequency. You were placed in the quiet shadows not to be forgotten, but to be refined through a sacred, hidden process. You are not an accident, nor are you merely here to endure the hardships of life. Chosen one, you are a rare and precious pearl among billions of souls, created with deliberate, loving intent by the divine. Chosen ones. To understand why your journey has felt so intensely demanding, you must first look at how true rarity is born into existence. A pearl does not begin its life in beauty, warmth, or golden sunlight. It begins with a violent intrusion, a sharp, unwelcome particle of sand that forces its way past the shell into the most delicate, sensitive tissues of the oyster. It brings immediate discomfort, constant friction, and an unavoidable ache that cannot simply be shaken off. The oyster cannot toss the irritant away, nor can it pretend the pain does not exist. It is forced to endure a reality it never asked for, trapped in a silent struggle beneath the dark waters. This is the exact spiritual blueprint of your life, chosen one. Every sudden heartbreak that tore through your trust, every betrayal from those you loved deeply, and every season of unexplained emotional solitude was that intruding particle of sand. You often asked why your heart had to bear such heavy burdens, while others seemed to live without a care, navigating the world with effortless ease. You wondered why you could never experience simple, surface-level comfort. But what felt like unfair targeting was actually the universe introducing the exact raw material required to forge an irreplaceable soul. Consider the nature of the oyster's pain. It cannot numb itself, nor can it run away from its environment. You too found that conventional coping mechanisms never worked for you. When you tried to distract yourself, numb your feelings, or act indifferent like the rest of the world, your spirit rebelled. You were forced to feel every emotion deeply, to sit with the raw sting of disappointment, and to process grief at a level most people actively avoid. This inability to escape your inner world was not a weakness. It was divine friction keeping you conscious. Instead of allowing the sharp intrusion to rot its core, the oyster begins a quiet, miraculous defense mechanism. It responds not with toxicity or destruction, but by secreting layer after layer of luminous, iridescent nacre around the source of its pain. It systematically wraps the sharp edges of hardship in smooth, glowing beauty. This process takes years of quiet endurance, completely hidden from the outside world. The pain is undeniably real, but the oyster's spiritual intelligence transforms that pain into something priceless. Your spiritual growth operates on this exact divine law. Every time you chose grace instead of bitterness, every time you swallowed your pride and offered forgiveness, you were applying spiritual nacre over your wounds. The universe allowed the friction not to destroy you, but because it was the only way to build the unyielding depth, wisdom, and emotional authority you carry today. What the world mistook as your breaking point was actually the moment your true spiritual value began to solidify in the secret dark. Think back to the nights when the weight of your life felt entirely unbearable, when you wept in silence with no one around to comfort or understand you. In those moments of complete physical and emotional exhaustion, you were not dying, You were being wrapped in divine protection. You were learning to rely on a source of strength that exists far beyond human capability. The suffering was never meant to be your permanent home, but rather the precise tool used to strip away your surface ego and reveal the timeless spirit beneath it. Look closely at the depth in your eyes and the quiet resilience in your heart today. You do not move through the world like those who have spent their lives on easy paths. You carry a subtle, undeniable authority because your wisdom was paid for with real, unvarnished endurance. You survived the pressure that breaks ordinary souls, converting raw agony into emotional maturity. The pain was brutal, but it was never wasted. It was the divine blueprint at work, crafting a masterpiece from your deepest wounds. This intense refinement was necessary because a soul destined for a high spiritual assignment cannot be built on superficial comfort. If you had been given an easy life, you would have remained content with ordinary desires and surface-level truths. The pain was the divine disruption that forced you out of alignment with the world and into alignment with your higher calling. It broke your reliance on human approval, preparing your spirit for the next necessary phase of your journey, the sacred season of divine concealment. Understanding the painful birth of your value reveals why the universe had to keep you hidden for so long. For years, you may have watched from the shadows as others stepped effortlessly into public opportunities, built relationships with ease, and received continuous praise. Meanwhile, every time you tried to step forward, invisible doors seemed to slam shut in your face. You were repeatedly pulled back into seasons of deep, agonizing isolation, left standing alone while the rest of the world moved forward together in celebration. It was easy during those quiet, lonely stretches to believe you were being punished, bypassed, or forgotten by God. You questioned your talent, your worth, and your purpose, wondering why your best intentions yielded only solitude and rejection. But the truth is far more profound than your insecurities ever allowed you to see. Precious things are never left exposed on open ground. Common sand is scattered across every shore, easily trodden underfoot because it costs nothing to find. But a pearl is guarded, held beneath deep waters, enclosed within a protective shell until it is fully formed. You were not being rejected by the world. You were being intentionally concealed by the divine. God kept you out of rooms that would have corrupted your spirit before your character was fully established. You were shielded from connections that would have diluted your energy, and you were held back from premature success that would have fed your ego instead of your soul. Had you been exposed to the world too early, the harsh currents of public opinion, flattery, and superficiality would have broken you before your spiritual foundation was set. Chosen one, your season of isolation was never a sign of divine abandonment or failure. It was a sacred sanctuary designed to refine your character away from the toxic influences of the crowd. On the ocean floor, far beneath the noisy waves of human drama, you were forced to face your own internal shadows. You had to learn to sit with your pain, master your thoughts, heal your generational wounds, and find light within your own spirit when no external light was offered to you. That hidden season built an unshakable core within your spirit that money cannot buy and trials cannot break. When you are forced to find your ultimate comfort in total solitude, you become immune to the manipulations of the world. You learn that human applause is fleeting and that worldly validation is hollow compared to divine alignment. The ocean floor was dark, quiet, and uncomfortable, but it was the exact environment required to ensure that your integrity could never be compromised once you step into the light. In that holy darkness, the divine was rewiring your desires and elevating your perspective. You began to lose interest in petty arguments, surface-level status, and temporary pleasures that once consumed your attention. You were being taught how to hear the subtle voice of intuition above the loud demands of society. The isolation was the intense spiritual incubation period, stripping away every false layer you accumulated just to fit into a broken world, until only your authentic essence remained. Now, as the season of your concealment slowly draws to its natural conclusion, you can look back on those painful years with total clarity. You realize that every door that closed was an act of divine mercy, and every period of forced solitude was a protective shield surrounding your evolving light. You were never lost in the dark. You were simply being kept safe while your spirit acquired its brilliant luster. The universe held you back only so that when you finally step into your true power, no storm in this world will ever have the strength to tear you down. The ocean floor was never meant to be your permanent residence, but it was your holy proving ground. You endured the silence, you mastered the solitary struggle, and you allowed the dark to polish your spirit into pure light. Now, as the divine timing aligns, you are being lifted out of the depths and brought to the surface. But as you step back into the visible world, you will quickly notice that the sheer quality of your transformed frequency changes everything around you. When a soul that has been polished in the secret depths finally steps back into the world, the surrounding energy shifts immediately. You may have noticed that your presence naturally alters the atmosphere of any room you enter without you having to say a word. You do not need to demand attention, dress extravagantly, or adopt an aggressive posture to be felt. Yet, the moment you walk into a space, your frequency creates a subtle, undeniable ripple effect that everyone around you registers on a deep, subconscious level. People react to your presence in ways that often seem extreme, confusing, or completely unprovoked. There are those who are instantly drawn to you, feeling a profound sense of peace, safety, and authenticity when they look into your eyes. Strangers will suddenly open up to you, sharing their deepest insecurities and painful life stories within minutes of meeting you. They are not responding to your social status or your physical appearance. They are responding to the smooth, refined purity of your spirit, a light that instinctively comforts their weary souls. However, there is another side to carrying this divine frequency that has likely brought you immense pain. Others will respond to you with sudden coldness, unexplained hostility, passive aggression, or intense insecurity. You have probably spent countless sleepless nights asking yourself what you did wrong to make certain people dislike or target you so quickly. You tried to soften your voice, shrink your presence, and apologize for things you never did, desperately trying to keep the peace and be accepted by people who claim to care about you. The truth you must finally accept, chosen one, is that your energy acts as an unyielding spiritual mirror. A polished pearl reflects light in a way that is pure, sharp, and inescapable. When you walk into a room carrying divine truth, your aura reflects people's true character right back to them. Those who are living in alignment with love, honesty, and humility feel comforted by your light. But those who carry hidden deceit, unhealed bitterness, or artificial personas feel deeply exposed by your mere existence. They are not reacting to what you say or do. They are reacting to the frequency you hold. Your mere presence disrupts the comfortable illusions they use to protect their fragile egos. Your quiet dignity makes their artificial behavior feel obvious, and your spiritual depth threatens the shallow dynamic they rely on to control others. They attack, gossip about, or reject you not because you are flawed, but because your light shines an uncomfortably bright spotlight on the dark, unhealed corners of their own spirits. This is why you could never fit into superficial social circles, gossip sessions, or manipulative power games. Your soul naturally rejects spiritual toxicity, making it physically and emotionally exhausting for you to engage in fake interactions. You possess a rare, quiet composure that remains grounded even when chaos rages around you. You carry anointing, a spiritual dignity forged in the dark that cannot be bought, faked, or stolen by those who envy it. For years, you mistakenly believed that you needed to dim your shine to make insecure people comfortable around you. You played small, silenced your intuition, and allowed others to walk over your boundaries just to avoid conflict. But shrinking yourself never brought you genuine love. It only invited people to disrespect the sacred gift inside you. You can no longer pretend to be a common pebble when God spent years polishing you into a gem of extraordinary value. Standing in your true power requires you to stop apologizing for the aura you carry. You must accept that your light will naturally divide rooms, pushing away those who thrive in darkness while attracting those who belong to your spiritual family. You are no longer required to explain your depth to people who are content living on the surface. Your aura is a living testament to where you have been, the pain you have overcome, and the divine authority that now protects every step you take. Carrying this level of spiritual frequency into a world built on artificial illusions means you were never meant to live a quiet, ordinary life of passive compliance. Your presence in your specific family line, culture, and community was a deliberate, tactical placement by the divine. You were not dropped into your lineage by accident, nor were you born to simply repeat the unconscious habits of those who walked before you. Chosen one, you were placed at a precise point in time to serve as an unyielding spiritual boundary line, the exact place where centuries of toxic generational patterns are brought to an absolute halt. Look back at the history of your bloodline, and you will see recurring cycles of unaddressed trauma, silent resentment, emotional suppression, and spiritual stagnation passed down like unavoidable heirlooms. For generations, your family accepted dysfunction as normal, swimming in the familiar waters of bitterness, addiction, or unhealed grief, because no one possessed the spiritual strength to challenge the status quo. But then you were born. From your earliest childhood, you carried an innate intolerance for hypocrisy, an intuitive radar for deception, and a burning desire for genuine, unconditional love. This is precisely why you spent so much of your life feeling like an outsider within your own household. You could not comfortably participate in the gossip, the silent treatments, or the subtle emotional manipulation that others accepted as routine. When you spoke the truth, you were accused of being dramatic. When you set healthy boundaries, you were labeled selfish or rebellious. And when you refused to carry toxic family secrets, you were treated like a threat to their fragile unity. Your very existence challenged the unwritten rules that held their generational illusions together. What you must realize is the immense burden of being the first soul in a bloodline to wake up. To be the cycle breaker means feeling the collective weight of unhealed generational pain more acutely than anyone else. You were given a heart sensitive enough to feel the depth of the damage, but resilient enough to process it without letting it destroy your spirit. While others chose the easy path of emotional numbness and projection, you were forced into the painful, solitary work of emotional sobriety, self-examination, and deep spiritual healing. There were moments when the weight of this assignment felt entirely unfair and crushingly heavy. You wept bitter tears asking why you had to be the one to suffer the consequences of mistakes you never made, fighting spiritual battles inherited from ancestors whose names you barely knew. You took the sharpest edges of generational trauma, betrayal, neglect, poverty, and abandonment, and absorbed the impact into your own spirit so that those who come after you would never have to bleed from those same wounds. You became the lightning rod that grounded centuries of darkness into pure light. Do not underestimate the absolute bravery it took for you to choose forgiveness over revenge, truth over comfortable lies, and personal healing over endless conflict. Every time you refused to react with toxic anger, every time you chose to break a cycle of abuse or neglect, and every time you prayed for those who cursed you, you disrupted spiritual momentum that had been building for generations. You were engaging in quiet, revolutionary spiritual warfare, dismantling ancient cages with every conscious decision you made. The people in your past could not understand your path because your freedom threatened the very captivity they had made peace with. They were conditioned to accept the cage, so when they saw you spread your wings and fly toward divine truth, your movement triggered their hidden shame. You had to endure being misunderstood, vilified, and abandoned by the very people whose spiritual liberation you were fighting for. But your allegiance was never to human approval. Your allegiance was to the divine mandate placed upon your soul before the foundation of the world. Now, take a deep breath and look at the invisible spiritual reality around you. The cycle is officially broken. The heavy spiritual debts of your bloodline have been paid through your quiet endurance, your tears, and your relentless pursuit of righteousness. You have successfully cleared a sacred, unobstructed path for your future, ensuring that those who inherit your legacy will walk in freedom, peace, and spiritual abundance. You stood as a lone guardian in the storm, and because you refused to break, your entire lineage has been permanently transformed. Having stood in the fire as a cycle breaker, the time has come for you to stop operating from a posture of spiritual survival and step fully into the quiet majesty of your true value. For far too long, you evaluated your self-worth based on the distorted opinions of people who were only accustomed to living on the shallow surface of life. You allowed the harsh judgments of those who could not comprehend your depth to make you doubt your own beauty, continuously questioning if you were too much, too quiet, too sensitive, or fundamentally flawed. To understand the absurdity of your self-doubt, consider the eternal nature of a pearl dropped into the thickest mud. The mud can temporarily cover its surface, obscure its shine, and hide it from the eyes of passing strangers, but the mud can never alter the intrinsic structure or value of the pearl itself. The pearl does not become soil simply because it is surrounded by dirt, nor does it lose its precious essence, because those who walk over it fail to recognize what lies beneath their feet. Its nature remains completely untainted, waiting only for clean water to wash the debris away so its radiance can shock the world once again. Your spirit is that untainted pearl, chosen one. The toxic environments you survived, the cruel insults thrown at you, and the seasonal failures you endured were merely temporary mud covering your outer shell. None of those painful experiences ever touched the divine core of who you truly are. You made the exhausting mistake of seeking validation from sandwatchers, people whose vision is so limited to the worldly and superficial that they could never recognize spiritual royalty, even if it stood directly in front of them. Expecting them to value your soul was like asking a blind person to critique a masterpiece. The season of shrinking yourself, apologizing for your boundaries, and dimming your light so that insecure souls feel comfortable around you is officially over. A pearl cannot pretend to be a common pebble without dishonoring the ocean that created it. And you can no longer pretend to be ordinary without dishonoring the divine master who polished you through years of intense trial. You were not given your rare depth, high intuition, and resilient spirit just to hide them away in small, suffocating spaces that demand your silence. Every trial you endured in secret was a divine investment, a precise carving away of everything that was false so that your authentic soul could shine without hindrance. Every secret tear you shed was counted by the universe. Every moment of heartbreak was used to expand your capacity for genuine love, and every season of forced isolation was used to build an unshakable inner authority. Nothing in your life was wasted. Every single event was orchestrated with divine intelligence to prepare you for the immense spiritual responsibility you are now ready to hold. You are moving out of the secret preparation phase and stepping into a season of public restoration, alignment, and undeniable elevation. The universe is preparing to showcase the glorious spiritual authority that was built inside you during your darkest hours. The doors that closed in your face are being replaced by divine gateways that no human power can close, and the relationships that drained your spirit are making way for high vibrational connections with people who honor, recognize, and cherish your depth without you ever having to prove yourself. To receive this new reality, you must actively dismantle the habit of expecting continuous struggle and pain. You spent so many years surviving trauma that your nervous system became wired to anticipate the next crisis. causing you to shrink back even when peace and abundance were offered to you. You must now give yourself permission to rest in your worth, to accept blessings without guilt, and to believe that goodness, honor, and deep peace are your natural divine birthrights. You no longer have to fight for scraps of affection or beg for a seat at tables where you were never meant to sit. Stand tall, raise your head, and walk forward with the calm, unwavering certainty of a soul that knows exactly who it is and who created it. You do not need to boast, flex your power, or seek revenge on those who harmed you. Your refined aura and divine destiny will handle all the alignment and justice on your behalf. You survived the crushing pressure of the depths. You endured the painful polishing in the dark, and you stood firm as a beacon of light for your bloodline. Now the mud is washing away, the waters are clearing, and it is time for you to shine in your full, unapologetic, divine radiance. Chosen ones, as you step forward into this new season, carry yourself with the quiet dignity of someone who knows their value was woven by divine hands. You no longer need to seek validation from a world that did not create you, nor do you need to explain your depth to those who were never equipped to understand your journey. Your life is a living testimony of resilience, a rare masterpiece forged in patience, faith, and unconditional love. Here on Wisdom Path, we honor the incredible courage it takes to carry a rare soul through a world that so often misunderstands spiritual depth. You are never as alone as you feel. There is a global family of conscious, awakened souls walking this exact path alongside you, quietly holding the light for humanity. Rest in the absolute certainty that your story is not one of defeat, but of ultimate, glorious triumph. If these words resonated with the deepest parts of your heart today, let us anchor this sacred energy together. Share your light in the comments below by writing, "I am polished by divine grace, and I step into my true worth today." Thank you for staying true to your light and for being the sacred pearl you were born to be. Stay rooted in peace, remain steady in your grace, and always walk with purpose on this wisdom path.